Hey, what's going on? This is Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision from mixingacademy.com. And here's another question that I get asked all the time. Khaliq, how can I learn how to get more space and depth in my mixes? Okay, so let's tackle that in a couple different ways. So first of all, the first thing I think you need to do is define what kind of space is needed. You need to listen to your overall music that you're listening to, or overall instrument. First, the overall song, and see what kind of space it needs, but then narrow it down to the different instruments. So for example, up-tempo songs usually need a tighter type of space. You got to define that. It doesn't usually need long reverbs. But if it's a ballad and has a lot of open space, but some ballads, if they got too many instruments, they don't need long stuff either. So you have to define what's needed. Number two is you got to picture what's actually happening, and what kind of space do you want each instrument to have. So for example, if I'm listening to the snare drum, do I want it to be tight and then just hear it right in your face, or do I want to hear the snare and hear something ring out kind of behind it? Do I want it to be short and just punchy, pap, 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 or do I want it to go pa and hear something ring out, pa? Whatever. When I'm listening to guitars or whatever, I want to see, does it need to have a real roomy sound? Does it need to have a delayed sound? Does it need to have a chorus kind of sound where it's wider? There's different types of way of building up the space. Does it need to be more on one side and hear the whatever effect I'm using more to the other side? We got to kind of picture these kind of things, what you need to be happening. Then once you have a general idea, basically you just choose the tool that you're going to use, whether it's hardware, whether it's plugins. You got to choose a tool that'll kind of get you in there. So if I'm here listening to something and I say, okay, I think I want to hear a delay bouncing back and forth, and I'll think in my mind, okay, I need a ping pong echo. So I go to some kind of plugin that gives me that type of thing. Or say if I just need something that needs to have a short slap back or anything like that or if I need a reverb, and say, okay, I just need some slight ambience. Maybe I just need early reflection, stuff like that. Choose the tool that's going to get you that, whether it's reverb, delay, chorusing, modulation, pitch shifting, whatever. And then the next thing is define the placement in space. So like I said too, this is where you step back out and listen to the overall song and the music that you're playing compared to listening to just that one instrument that you're trying to create a space for. Then back out and think about where is that going to be in relation to the other instruments. So some things need to still be a little bit bigger and wider sounding, for example, but they still need to stay in your face. So that might be just a widening thing. Other things may need to be wider, but also like slightly roomier and slightly back. So you've got to get an imagination for what needs to be, where it's going to be in the place. Does it need to sound like it's bouncing off the left wall or the right wall or whatever in the back of the room? Does it need to sound like it's something like the listener is right there and they're hearing a sound and they're getting quick reflections, direct reflection, or direct then reflection, one side or the other. Okay, then the next thing is you want to listen for the dry versus the wet contrast between all the stuff. If everything is wet, then that's when you start getting that sonic soupy mess, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is make sure you have a good balance and a combination of dry things and wet things, and remember this about when you're adding stuff. When you add things on, the mind tricks itself to thinking that it's on more than what's actually on there. So you can get away with a lot less than what you may think that you need. So anyway, I hope those tips will help you get more space and depth in what you're doing when you're approaching mixing your songs. And this is Khaliq Glover. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.